All right, we should be live. Let's see. Get commercials on my dashboard. Okay, so for posterity here, this is we're setting up a development. Oh, wait a minute, update. I am very new. All right, here we go. So, my name is Debauch Sloth. I'm here. I'm developing a new game with my friend CSS Boy, and it's going to be a mobile puzzler, as you can see from the title. Anyone who happens to pop in here, please just we'll say hi. This is all going to YouTube for posterity. It's both going to be my documentation and for hysterical purposes. So I've already started. We have a project here. Me and my buddy have been working on throwing a game together. I started kind of working on some of the infrastructure stuff, and that's what we're going to continue with today. And so this is really just kind of, again, for my own sake, but if anyone happens to find this and wants to hang out, that would be really cool. Yeah, so here we go. Let's see. I'll try to keep, again, basically just narrating. I'm new to this. I've never done this before, so I assume I'm just going to narrate what I'm doing as I do it. See, here is our source control. I've got some stuff. I threw a test together, trying to set up some testing. So I'm going to just take a quick peek here and remind myself what I was in the middle of doing. And it looks like I was setting up. So I set up in this test, and this should be failing right now because we can see index of 4 is not here. This is just something I copied from the documentation for Mocha. We're using Mocha to test here. So let's pull up a terminal. Get started here. So yeah, the version of the application we're making here is just a demo. We're basically making a demo puzzler. I'm not going to get into the details of what our plan is for the game and our approach here, but I mean, if you've seen Candy Crush, if you've seen Triple Town, if you've seen Bejeweled, Hero Quest, etc., we're basically going to inventory those mechanics and piece them together along with our theme or our setting, I would say. But I'm not going to get into that just yet. We're going to focus actually on the mechanics of what I'm doing in terms of the development stream here. I come from a very enterprise Java corporate background, so I have a tendency to care a lot about infrastructure and development flow and integration testing and all of that happy stuff. So that's what I'm focusing on. I'm getting that out of the way, making sure I have the infrastructure I need to feel comfortable to just dive in and actually solve the problem of the game itself. My partner, my collaborator here is working on that as well. One moment here. I realize I need to change my screensaver timeout here. Put that more like 30 minutes. Now, right, so my collaborator is the artist. I'm the developer. He's working on the assets and basically just playing around with some of the ideas we've been throwing around. I'm going to focus on development. So that's where we are here. Okay, so again, bear with me as I learn how to do what I'm doing here. This is my first time, our very first stream. We're going to try to cast daily. I haven't even updated my, my whatever it is, my front page. I'm just trying to dive right in here. This is almost for my own benefit, as I said before. So we are working. My editor I've been using is Atom, which I've really liked these days. I have to say, particularly for JavaScript development. We are using JavaScript for the most part here. Okay. Let's get this. So, yep, this is my editor. This is my project file. We can see here. Actually, this is we use a loopback. I set up a client server, uh, convention here. Just using the loopback conventions, which we will get more into. And we're using Angular for our MVC framework on the client side. You can see we're using Gulp as our build, and all the usual suspects. We will get into. We're not going to be doing much in the server for this demo, but I wanted to stake out a claim, and I actually really like the shared domain model system they have here in Loopback. It's something that's like one of those things for any large project. If you don't use some sort of middleware like that, you end up having to build it yourself over and over and over again for each project. And I think actually they did a very good implementation. It's got just enough of what I need and nothing extra, very nice. So, and so far so good. It's worked as advertised so far. I haven't really gotten too deep into it. That's one of the things we're gonna find out. We might have to see how far it can be extended. We're not our models and our design should not have to be that complicated, obviously, because we're doing a simple puzzle game. Although we're gonna hopefully build on some interesting concepts that will reveal as we go along. Okay. Just in case for some reason anyone happens to show up in chat. Can't imagine they would, but never know. And again, I apologize if the audio isn't particularly great here. I put a gate on the audio to hopefully reduce as much as possible the noise, but it's not a very good. It's not. And I'm also apologize for constantly looking at the OBS stream when you guys are right here. I have to get used to that. Okay, so we got our terminal. Let's just do a clean build here. All right, we'll do gulp. It's cleaning. Oh, yeah, that's right. This should fail our test. This is where I was last time. Not that one, but this one. Right. That's because the test is designed to fail as is. So, right now, again, I wasn't so much worried about testing components because there aren't really much there. I'm just building up the infrastructure. So this test is fine for our purposes right now, even though it's just testing the array, the standard array object, which is obviously pointless. But not just for demonstration purposes, which is where we're at. So, this is about ready to check. I think there's an issue that this would resolve. So let's just go ahead and back to our test. All right, there we go. That's what we want. Okay. Index of 3 should not show, right? Wait a minute. Oh, okay, yeah. I was like, wait, how is this running if this is running a test against the server? But it's not. It's just doing an array thing, right? The problem I was having before is, and one of the things we're going to have to do to make this work is we're going to have an instance of the node server running in the background while this test runs. So we'll have to update the build to accommodate that. That's kind of almost getting into integration testing. So for now, again, I was just kind of wanted to make sure that my build, I haven't really used these tools before, so I was just getting my build going. So let's see, so now let's do the first one, make sure that passes. Why would there be 0 passing when index of 3 should not throw? Oh, let's try this. 0 index. Type error, undefined is not. Let's try this. pass because I don't see any exceptions. I assume it's row base. Yeah. Okay. Good enough for now, right? Yeah, and I'm already realizing all these bad habits I have that I'm going to have to change if I'm like that. If I'm going to get used to being online, smacking and all that, off noise. All right. Let's go look at our issues. So, what was I going to, oh yeah. Okay. This is what, number 11. Okay, let's start. Let's go here. Okay, so what do we add? We added Phantom.js, Mocha. Sorry about that. Focus mode. Anyone watching? I got it. I don't even know how I find out who's watching, how many people actually watch. Got it. So there is someone in the room. It looks like there's someone in the room. Hey there, I don't know who you are if you're lurking. Nice to meet you. Thanks for stopping by. If I'm wrong, I'm just being silly. And I'm talking to nobody anyway, right? So feel free to talk and ask questions while I work here. I'm just setting up a check-in here. And we're saying this is test closes. Bing, bada, bing, bada, boom. Good. Now, so what I'll do is go back, take a look, make sure, yep, that was closed. Very good. Really like it. Okay, so yeah, this looks like the next thing we want to work on here, right? Is we want to work on this PixJS Angular integration. I found some articles and stuff about how this works. And if it's the other night, I left myself some excellent little notes here. So I don't really know a lot about Angular.js. I'm just figuring stuff out as I go along. I haven't used it before, but I needed something like it. Got to pick something, so I just started with that. We're at a demo phase here. It's not that big of a deal if we end up changing it. But the objective here is to create a 2D, ultimately a 2D puzzle game. So we're going to need we're probably going to need to use some sort of render, right? Whether we use WebGL, whether we use CSS, we could probably get away with just using CSS for much of the demo, I think, and which is exactly how my collaborator is working right now. He's actually doing that. He's more of a designer than a coder, but he actually does a lot of neat stuff with CSS. I wouldn't be really quite aware you can do. I'm more of a back-end server-side guy. That's not supposed to be happening. Power. I'm plugged in. All right, anyways. So what we have to figure out, what we mean by PixJS Angular integration is PixJS is our 2D WebGL rendering engine, tile engine, so to speak. And AngularJS is our view model control scheme. So the model of that, we're going to have two different models here, the way we're looking at this, and this is kind of a design consideration. We're going to have both the domain model, which is like the model of what the things in the game, and then there's the display model, which is the model of sprites and particles and the object model we need to actually render that stuff. But we want to keep that independent because we want to have some modularity here. The challenge here is now getting the models to reactively update the appropriate things in the display model. So there has to be that mapping there, and then that two-way communication. And exactly how that's going to happen, I'm not really quite sure right now. Though I'm sure there's a way to do it. And again, there's a controller model, so a lot of what's actually going to be happening in PixJS is probably going to be pushed out to Angular controllers, I assume, unless that's not the way to do it. But it seems to me to be the appropriate way off the top of my head. And likewise, the views are going to then why do I keep blue? Sec. I might have to adjust my power setting. Yeah, I know my battery. Pardon me as I like. So what? Well, hopefully that will stop doing it. I'll have to look into that. All right. So, documentation. I think here, at this point, I'm going to need to do some reading. So this is going to get boring for me. It looks like it is just me again, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, great. So I'm going to take a break and read my documentation here and take a look at those articles I linked the other night. Oh. Oh yeah, I got to get rid of that project. Right. So I'm going to need to read up on directives, right? Okay, good. So still no one in chat right now, so I'm safe to read here. Angular directives that expose specific canvas picture info to a controller. Okay, a directive. Let's take a look at those. What do they mean by creating a custom directive? High-level directives are markers on a DOM element, such as an attribute element. Tell Angular's HTML compiler that specific behavior to the DOM. Okay, I see that. So this is like, uh, this has got to be like, you know, in the Java world, you have the ability to make tags that are, you know, very similar to this, I think. So this is like custom tags, right? Oh, there we go. I see. Okay, so what we want to do here, so what this approach is they're suggesting is using these directives, which look like essentially custom attributes on tags, you know, custom, um, although maybe it's more than that. Oh yeah, it looks like directive types. Directives can match attribute names, tag name, comments, or class name. Ngbind, ngbind, ngbind. So, okay. Okay. I am not. Okay. Let's go back and look at this example. I believe they have an example of. I'm not even in my own chat room. So again, to all the people who are swinging by, if you happen to be swinging by, it's welcome. Feel free to ask me any questions. Oh yeah, that's just. Okay, here's the directive. So here's an example directive they use. Let's take a look at what they do. Depth the app. Directive. Okay, so we made a Pixie directive. Okay, interesting. Self-rendering. Okay, this makes sense to me. For the most part, I assume. Kind of makes sense to me, anyways. I don't know about you guys. So the idea here, this is an AngularJS directive. It gets a. I got to figure out what that parse is. And we create. Oh, okay. So you're just creating a controller. Okay, a directive with a scope, false, strict A. I wonder what that means. And that's all. It's all just a controller, really. Okay. I think we can handle that, right? That's not that big of a deal. I believe I've seen the controllers documentation. I gotta hide this. Video preview was messing me up. All right. So again, welcome if you're in the chat. Nice to meet you. Feel free to ask me any questions. I'm working on a puzzle game here, and I'm just trying to figure out some rendering engine Pixie.js to AngularJS integration stuff. That's my current uh, GitHub issue, right? Um, so if you're watching, you kind of came in at a bad time because I'm sitting here reading documentation, trying to narrate as well while I figure this stuff out. Whoops, go back. Okay, now. So that's the directive, and along with the director, the actual controller that talks with this directive is below. Depthy viewer. Okay, so it's the other way around. This is the directive. Interesting. So, okay, we're going to use scope to hold the stage, which is, okay, the constructed stage, and then pixie render is the on render, the each frame render. Okay, fair enough. What I guess I'm not quite 100% on right now is what how we're going to do the UI integration, in terms of the event model and interface input, you know. But we can solve that problem later. We'll figure that out. That's the whole point here, right, guys? And again, I hope everyone, you will bear with me. This is my inaugural stream. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm just I'm going to try casting every day here while I'm working on this game. And again, I'm not trying to be highly productive today. I'm just trying to get into the zone here of actually into the habit of doing this and figuring out the Twitch tools and yada yada. I'm looking at the dashboard here, trying to kind of figure it out. And I see, okay, no activities, no stats, right? And I see. Back to live. Get rid of my video. Stream quality is excellent, supposedly. Again, welcome if you're here with me. If not, hope to meet you soon. Okay. I went through the directory route, so 99% of the code you want in your control. More or less syntactic sugar, but it helps a little bit when you bootstrap another project. So, yeah, and I believe I saw this article too. Let's take a peek. Yeah. So this is like the same kind of thing, but it's just done. This is just CSS based. But this is also helpful, right? This is also helpful. Grid, grave, gid, keyboard. Our ultimate goal is something like this, but not really quite. So back to the game manager, grid service. I see. So what do they mean between the difference between a server and so what's the difference between a manager and a server in this guy's service in this guy's head? Why the distinction? The reason one is a service and one is a manager? Or was it just arbitrary? Again, like this is, as a developer, this is one of those pet peeves of mine, is that a lot of times ontologies are just kind of haphazardly defined, and that the words you use and the word choice you use can have this really rippling effect. In that, like, I remember I worked at this place and they used the term database to represent something really core to the inner structure of how the application worked, but it wasn't really a database. And it had a database. It had lots of different real databases. So every single time anyone tried to work on this project, the first like 3 months, it was like, database. What do you mean by data? Well, which database? What database? So you got to be careful about the terms you use, and that's why I assume that there's intent between the difference between a controller, a service, and a manager. To me, you need to have a reason to give those three different names, right? And I assume there's a good reason for it, but I just don't see it off the top of my head. If it's arbitrary, then why not pick one and reinforce the idea that they're all basically the same thing. Again, I assume that there's other. You could probably make a very coherent argument in another direction. It's just my the way my feeling as a developer has been doing this for. It's not my first time at the rodeo here. Yeah, I guess I should probably talk a little bit about my experience for anyone that actually cares. For posterity's sake, I am going to probably put this up on YouTube. So, I've been a developer for, uh, God, what is it? Since, yeah, it's got to be at least 15 years now. I worked as a engineer, like a network engineer and system administrator and stuff like that. I've done client support, desktop support, all that great stuff. I started in like the late mid to late 90s in San Francisco, and then kind of moved back here, went to Gillette, and just kind of been jumping around from company to company for a while until a few years ago. And now I'm going to do my own thing. And so again, my background is much more institutional, enterprise, big iron, Solaris, Java, that kind of stuff. I like this kind of development way better. I have to say, I'm actually much more comfortable here so far, using more of a JavaScript node. I actually always kind of like dismissed JavaScript as this stupid client side thing back when it was purely about when it was all about compatibility, back when it was a nightmare. Until I figured out Node. I found out about Node and I grokked it and I understood it. I mean, it's actually a very good platform. And likewise, I mean, the problem with Java I find is that, particularly in the enterprise environment, 90% of the code is there to as infrastructure to make it possible to use Java. It's just like it doesn't make a lot of sense. You just cut all of that out with the way Node works. And the reality is it's very rare that you actually really need session. I mean, you can. It turns out you can do a lot of what you need with just asynchronous calls, right? So, um, and the support and the development, I think the build model and everything, again, it's the same similar functionality, but with way less infrastructure, way less complication, it's a little more flexibility. I mean, it definitely requires a little more hacking, a little more, you know, um, sometimes things aren't quite so comprehensive, but it's just so easy to wrap up like C++ libraries now with Node. I mean, it's like almost like you can push button, you know what I mean, and take a native library and turn it into an npm module that will have a nice JavaScript interface. It's a different world, you know what I mean. So I'm trying to dive in and get up to date on these technologies and really make sure I can demonstrate my competence in this kind of stuff. Is again another reason for doing this, right? I don't have a full-time gig right now. I'm just working on this game, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm not under a huge pressure to find a job, but I'm also broke, which is hence the ghetto game devcast here, right? All right, back to work. Back to work. Okay, see, here we go. Service, a grid service, and it is. The game manager is a service. So there's a distinction between a service and a controller. Manager is just an arbitrary label that they decided on. That's what I was talking about. So I understand the distinction, and that's quite all right. What is the distinction between a service and a controller now in Angular? That's one thing I need to... Okay. Service and controllers. Let's see what we found here. Services. Okay. Actually, are substitutable objects that are wired together using dependency injection. Okay, I love dependency injection. Love that. Using a service to use an Angular server. Angular services are lazily instantiated. Very good. Again, that means that we're not going to waste resources on them until we need them, right? And singletons. So each component is dependent on a service gets a reference to the single instance granted by the service pack. Oh, okay. See, here we go. This is kind of like, that makes sense. So this is just when you, this is basically a way of doing it's like a singleton. Just the fact that it's a singleton, I guess, makes it a service, and that it's lazily instantiated. It's a reference to the single instance. Now, is there any threading implication to that? The fact that, I mean, that's the thing. In Java, you would have to make sure you are, again, I don't mean to shove my face into my camera. I'm using my my Mac's, whatever it is, FaceTime thing. Creating services. Okay, application are free to define their own service by registering a services named a service factory function. Easy enough. Okay, so again, services have a factory constructor, which make now the singleton makes more sense to me. You would probably need something like that to pull it off, right? service instance. And this is returning the same one, right? Because it's okay. Various dependencies. Okay. Interval and log. Route template monitor. So this is like a custom service that monitors each route. Aha. Okay. Provide. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Hmm. You know, it's interesting that they tell you what services are here, but they don't tell you why you want to use them, right? They don't want to. They don't want to. They don't talk about how they relate to directives or controllers, which I find a little interesting because that's really what I want to know. You know, I get the mechanics now, and that's all well and good, but why, right? As opposed to, and you know, maybe we'll find some good examples for that. And again, we have. I'm sorry, I got to stop leaning directly into my camera. Again, bear with me as this is my very first cast. This is the first time I've done this, so I can't iterate enough. If you've actually been watching for a while, you're probably sick of hearing that. But I'm going on the assumption that people are jumping in if they're coming at all, taking a look around, taking off because this is obviously a noob cast here, which is quite all right. Angular scope. Manipulate DOM. Or okay, see now this is much more better. Under controllers, they actually do just what I was talking about. They tell you exactly what you want to use controllers to do and do not to do. Even more important. So don't filter output, filter input. Okay, fair enough. Share code or state. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. That makes sense to me. Okay. So let's think about this for a bit. We're going to have a we're gonna have a Pixie directive, a game controller, and maybe like a Pixie integration service, something like that. What does that sound? Anyone in chat got any comments on that idea? This is how I feel like it. You know, my gut tells me we want to do based on what I've seen so far. So let's start with that gentleman's excellent directive. Directive scripts, app scripts, directives, depth. Okay, so is this like a that just his? Yeah, it just looks like arbitrary. Directive. Okay. We would want to change that to app. We'll keep the directive. Do you see any depthy stuff anywhere else in here? 1, 2, 3. That's very good. All right. So, Pan Rafal. Thank you, Pan Rafal. We're gonna actually have to put some. Let us, or make sure we gotta give him a toast in the notes because we're totes stealing this. See how it works. We're probably going to change it and mess about with it. I doubt it's going to probably look the same when I'm done with it, but we'll give him a shout for I hope he doesn't mind. I'll take a look at the license, make sure it's not a problem. Although since he's pushing it, now that I think about it, on HTML5 game devs, I suspect he's perfectly happy to allow folks to use it. But we should still get it. Ken Raphael. Thank you, man. Excellent. So let's go back here. What do we have? We had it under the client. We had services, controllers. So why don't we create our directives? Uh-oh, what did I just do? At all. Wow, I'm surprised at how well my machine is handling this stream. All I've got is an older MacBook, and it's actually it's doing just fine. I'm looking at it's got hardly any CPU usage. It's not running too hot. My battery is really old, so I'm kind of afraid. You know, it's getting old enough that it could start melting stuff if I push it too far. Um, and we certainly don't want it to explode or anything. Um, directives. Oh, why did that happen? That's not what I wanted. I'm not paying attention. Crash. Folder. All right. I've actually already added. I should note that um, I have already, if you look at my Bower, already got Pixie in there. So it's showing up. And on this, you can see here the git ignore hide doesn't show this stuff, but this is where Pixie actually lives. Likewise, you know, there's our node. And you'll see up here too, there's some stuff that's like generated, like all the CSS stuff that's generated. So that gets killed. That doesn't go into GitHub because it gets cleared out in every build on that style. Because my artist prefers Sass and Susie and all that, so I set that up for him. I actually don't really know a hell of a lot about that. I'm just kind of learning. I just use CSS. I'm like a, you know, I'm a server side guy. I just use CSS. We're not using any templating right now, but in any event, back to where we were. So we were creating our directive. Go steal his code. First of all, let's create a comment here. I use Markdown comments. Anyways, and they for header comments, I should say. Okay. Wait a minute. What did I just do? That is not what I wanted to do at all. How did that happen? Hold on. Where was I? That's I copied. Oh yeah, you can't see the results of it. Hold on one sec. Again, I'm new to this. Let me. Not very nice if you can't see the results. Terminal's kind of the important stuff. And by the way, I just realized, can anyone not? You probably no one can even read this. I just thought of this. My desktop screen is like Retina, and I've got it on the smallest setting. So now that let's do some display setting stuff. Oh wait a minute, where? Sorry about that, guys. If this is like completely unviewable, that's again, it's a learning process. Let's do this. Bam. No, not for that one. Whatever, I guess that'll have to do. All right, fair enough. Whoa, that's so huge. So huge. I don't know if I can deal with that, but we will. Oh, hey. Hold on one sec. Sorry, my that's interesting. Right? I'll just pull it off the screen there. Is that better? If anyone's watching, I would appreciate it if you could tell me if that's actually a little bit, if that really is a little bit more viewable. I would appreciate it. If not, thank you anyways. Stuff back up there. Wow, this is like... Oh, whatever. You know what? We could do this in like this mode, right? Easier for you. Where are you? Excellent. Okay, now we're good. So again, hopefully, guys, this is a little bit easier to see. I was sorry about that when I first set this up. Anyone who's there watching, if you've been watching and it's been basically impossible to view the screen, I apologize for that. I'm just setting it back up now. And okay, so back where we were. So we were stealing this gentleman's code, so giving him credit, of course, as always. Let's go back to scripts, controllers, draw. Right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. First of all, let's go back before I forget. First thing we got to do. What the heck? Why can't I? I have to. Oh, yeah, that's right. I have to do that. Okay. Um, I hope the audio quality isn't so bad. I haven't been able to hear it. I'm, not going to probably hear it till it archives the first time, and if it's really bad, I'll correct it next time. But hopefully the gate keeps the worst from being too bad. Okay, so I had to change this app, and the reason is this is the convention I've been using everywhere else. If you look here and we go to our client-side code, right? Go to app. We just used app. Same thing, I think. App. No big deal. Now, what I really don't understand this restrict A thing. I got to look that up. I'm not sure what that means. Okay. Draw control. Excuse me. This what he was. Had it backwards. If he says, "Here's a directive," and that's how I use it. Canvas pixie stage render true. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me. And the stage object I get, scope stage, pixie render. Now, here's what I don't get. The actual controller talks with this directive. It watches the scope with the data URLs and reloads the textures when needed. Wow. I don't know if I need this. I think you might have linked to the wrong thing. Let's take a look at controllers, right? I don't think he's linking to the right thing here. What do you think, chat? Anyone in chat? I think he meant this draw. Really do. I believe he must have meant this. Raw control. Okay, yeah. This makes more sense. Mouse move. Okay, yeah, this is like way more complex than I. But this looks like it answers my questions with how, or as it shows me an example of, I believe, how I can integrate the touches. So yeah, screen to image position. Bang. Okay, that makes sense to me. So it's not really that big of a deal. You're just doing we're just going to create a simple function that maps from coordinate systems. Right? No big deal. Coordinate system map function. Easy, easy. Um, Easy peasy, guys. All right. Is there anyone in chat? Anyone there? If you are, welcome. Nice to meet you. I'm Debauched Sloth. I'm developing a puzzle game here using just my MacBook and whatever other crap I could pull together. I actually have a TV that I'm using for a second monitor and a crappy old Asus tablet I'm using for documentation sometimes here. But we can do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna cast every day and we're gonna build a game. I'm telling you. So, and I'm hopefully my setup and my stuff will get a little bit less pleb as time goes on. But again, please feel free to shout out any questions, comments, criticisms, whatever. It's a pleasure to meet you. All right. So this is how we map our touches. This is how he's doing the integration. Okay, so if we read back here, control that actually talks about to watch the scope, reloads textures when needed. That's what this is. That is definitely what this is. That other thing, depth viewer, is not something I think we care about. I think that was just totally a mistake on his part. Although we should probably take a look at that class. I don't know if we need that viewer. So we have controllers. What did he do for services? Let's take a look at that. So there's a depthy service. You might have some. We might get some good ideas, right? I'm just poking around. This guy's supposedly done something very similar to what I want to do, which is a Pixie.js a Pixie.js Angular integration. I've got a really basic, simple Angular app that's just popping up right now, just popping up a page, an empty page. Is just like Hello World kind of thing. What we want to do is put a canvas in that and have the the UI mechanics and all of the interface mechanics. We want to be able to map from clicks on the screen to clicks on the canvas, and start seeing some stuff show up in the actual canvas. That's like what I'm working on here. That's the GitHub issue. Once we have that, then my collaborator, who's the artist, can start delivering assets for me to start putting in, and then we can actually start showing people a game, and hopefully we can get a few more. Maybe people will be more interested when it's actually something to demonstrate. Right now, it's just you got to watch me coding and stuff. All right. So what has it been about? How long have I been streaming now? I'm not exactly sure. I think I might need to take a quick break. My machine is doing all right. And if anyone has any questions, just let me know. Oh, hide, hide, hide. All right. Bear with me for a moment here. I'm going to. This is the one we're doing. An hour ago recording. Yeah. Excellent. I don't think I've had a single view, perhaps. I don't know. It seems like the dashboard shows me that there's people in chat once in a while, but I have no idea. Okay, so we've been casting an hour. A full hour. Woot. A whole full hour. Okay. I believe. Again. And you know what? Actually, let's do this. Over here. Guys. Anyways, that way you can actually see the output. Excuse me. Alrighty. So we didn't break anything. Very good. But how are we going to use this directive? Oh, let's take a look at his HTML. That's probably how. Why? Why you? Me or should that? All right. Oh, because I'm on the wrong. Oh, I get it. It's bringing me to the dashboard up there and the other. Not good. Okay. Well, you know what? We could just try putting this canvas thing. We could always, you know, we can look in the developer tools and, speaking of which, thing. Okay. I probably don't. I really actually don't need to build here, but it's just like compulsive habit. I like to build every single change I make. I'm one of those people I'm very fastidious when it comes to my um, changes. I don't like to make more than one simple small change at a time and then build. So I do a lot of redundant and unnecessary steps if you're watching here, and if that drives you nuts, you know, some developers hate that. I've noticed. I've worked with peers that it drives them batty. Um, but I've found that it's the best way to work because it really it's a real kick in the nuts when you work for like an hour straight or 2 hours straight or a couple of however long, and you paint yourself into a corner, and you're not exactly, you know, it'll take twice as long to back yourself back out and figure out what was wrong and fix it. So you just start back over and figure it out an hour later, and I hate all that. So I just build, check in, make sure it always works. If it's broken, back up immediately, start over. You know, if I'm not sure what's wrong, back it out, make a branch, figure it out. That's my philosophy. For those who care. Okay. So let's actually see if we're gonna get any. That not. Oh, it's just never gonna work. Okay, fine. Fine. Whatever, Chrome. Okay. Oh, that's right. I won't see it here, right? Let's try this. But I will see it. Hey, look at that. Okay, so we're gonna have to add a controller here, it looks like. This is gonna drive me nuts if I can't Alt-Tab to that. I might have to use a different browser for the dashboard. Hey, what happened to my dashboard, speaking of which? What happened to my chat? It's not working. Want to know this? What's going on here? Well, I apologize if I can't for some reason the dashboard is no longer showing me my chat. Let me try this. Go to my freaking channel, and then I will just in case I will pop this chat out. Oh, okay, good. Oh, I can have a viewer. Okay, see. Sorry, guys. Like I said, I am figuring this out. So hopefully it doesn't look like there's anyone here, thankfully. Pop out. All right, then. Actually, that's much better. Okay, excellent. Now, back to where we were. So we have added our directive, which we will look again back at. This looks like it essentially just adds, so that is what gives us our Pixie render, Pixie parent, Pixie renderer. Okay. When does that get called? Got to take a look at the controller. Or else. Watches the scope. Watches the scope with data URLs. With data URLs. Know what data URLs are? Anyone in chat? No, no one's here. But anyone know what data URLs are? Raw controller. All right. Okay, so this is the viewer. This is where the viewer comes into it. Okay, I understand now. So the draw is a controller, and then this viewer, I think that depth get viewer. Let's take a look. Back. ng animate, yeah. UI router, bootstrap buttons, blah 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 blah. Let's see how he sets things up here. Draw, state draw, URL draw, draw mode enable, draw. Main how to run. Okay. Now, I'm gonna add a little thing chat here in case anyone comes. All right. I find it interesting that in his app, he is not registering that draw controller. So I assume that means the implication there is in the directive, we should see some sort of reference to that controller. I'm missing something. No, okay, I get it. Okay, I get this. The purpose of this is simply to allow configuration and setup of the Pixie.js canvas through a simple thing. It's just, this isn't even necessary. We could do all of this, obviously, right, in a controller. Um, but this is just to make it a little bit easier. The controller is really where all the logic is, and that's this puppy right here. That's that baby. No, that's not that baby. That's not that. How did we... Controllers, draw. And that's the app. I assume Depthy is the app, Depthy app. So draw mode, let's go. So that's it, just those two draw modes. Figure this out. Okay. Dixie room. That's the limit, that's the directive. So Depthy is a different, it doesn't look like to be the app. But oh, it's probably even right in here. I realize this is the same thing. This is all in the scope of app, isn't it? Is it? And why have Depthy? I mean, I want to figure out what function that. Oh, Depthy is the service, right? Look for here. Okay. Open image. This is where that stuff came from, right? The for settings should be. Oh. Okay. Let's do this. That's not what we care about. Draw mode, right? Let's see if there's. Aha. So this service. Okay, I got it. Good. So this service is what communicates. This is the Depthy service is what handles. Okay. We're going to need to create a service here. Okay. Excellent. We'll do this. I got it. I got it now. Thank you for bearing with me if you're watching this. I have no idea what I'm doing. All right. So LB, these are the services. Okay, great. I got it now. So this is a generated service stub, right? What this does is actually made by, this is made by a tool from, it's made by a tool that comes with Loopback that generates this JavaScript file, which is a service which does the binding, provides the behind the scenes stuff for Loopback to work transparently to tie the model definitions to objects in Angular, if that makes all sense. Is that making sense to everyone? Right, it's making sense to me now. So we need a new one. with the directive as Pixie, we are going to make a new service, and we're going to call it, well, we could call it draw. We got to make a draw controller. Um, what do we want to call this? Any votes? Anyone got any ideas? No one's here, right? Um, we want to call a service. Yeah, we actually don't want demo as the controller now that I think about it. We don't need a controller for demo. What we want, demo should be a service. I think we want something like that. We're going to use, again, okay. So we don't care about services. That's just a render file. So render, this is going to be the service that is equivalent, oops, to the depthy. Like to fill in the stuff, if we look here in draw, our controller, which is really what I care about, not so much the service. This is, we set options, we extend depthy viewer. Okay, so we are going to need the viewer directive too, it looks like. Oh no, we won't need a directive for that. Okay, anyways. Let's start our controller. And we will, you know, we'll pull out, we'll worry about render as we need it. Right now, render, again, is going to hold the stuff that's in depth. You notice there's a whole bunch of stuff of logic is actually in the depthy class, the way he's currently doing it, which is like kind of like his global variable space for the application, from what I can infer, right? That's what it looks like to me. I'm going to do something a little more. I'm just going to keep. I'm going to put the most of the functionality in draw, pull what I need to. We may not need this render service. If we need the service, we'll use it. If we don't need it, we won't. I mean, it's clearly anything that doesn't need to be repeated between controllers should go there, and we'll move it there as we need to. It doesn't have to be perfect at first. We're just trying to get something working here in this demo, right? We don't want the we don't want it to. We don't need to overdo things. All right. So, if you see here, like for this demo controller, yeah, I don't get what this is. Okay. I think we need to go, let me a second. Doop-a-doop, doop, doop-a-doop. Oops, that wasn't what I meant to do. But that's all right. I think this is okay. Um, I've got to figure out. I'm not exactly sure what. I know it's scope state. I don't get that. I got to read up on the documentation. We'll go back to Angular, but for now, that should work well enough. What I want to do is actually just make sure I register another controller. Okay, here we go. Oh, how does he do the draw controller, actually, now that I think about it? Let's take a look and see how he does it. Draw controller. Right. Okay. Go back here. Okay. So that depthy thing, again, that's our service. It looks like we're going to need it sooner than I realized because we're going to have to, looks like it's dependent on that. I don't get the, there's something I don't quite get here, and that's all right, but raw. Okay, there must be some kind of like implicit thing going on. Um, and depthy services depth. I don't get this. Okay, I get it. Let's go back here. Go back to our render service. Okay. So now we have render, 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 draw, and this should match with that because that's what it was in the other one. Window timeout, Scott, we'll see. None of that might even work. I have no idea what the hell that is yet. Um, but if we, let's go look at their app, see how they wire this all together. All right. Okay, so draw mode enable needs to be added to render. Okay, so now I understand here. You guys get this? Um, so we register this when we do in our app here. You can see here we're telling it here's where the render and the timeout comes from. So the window must just be, automatically provided. Template views demo controller. Oh, right. We're gonna need that, won't we? We're gonna need to tell it which controller. Hey, did I do that in the Okay. Anyone here? No. Okay. What we're doing, I'm a little confused because it looks like the only thing that this does in this controller is turn on the draw mode, um, which presumably on the next frame it will inspect. It will be able to see as changed and update. Right. We'll probably see some logic like that in the rendering. Um, that's okay. App. All right. Let's finish this. Have not already. All right, sorry, I've been focus mode, and it doesn't look like there's anyone here, but you never know. Um, okay, so now we got to go back to depthy, and we got to look for the draw. Why would they do depthy, 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 depthy? I don't get this at all. I don't know what GA is there. Timeout, root scope, document window, queue, modal, state modal, update check. Okay. I think, all right. What do we got? 4:30 here? So we've been working about an hour and a half. All right. I got it. Let's draw mode enable. Oops, come on you. What's the enclosing scope? What, really? Okay. Okay, so again, what we're doing here is we're building out our controller that's going to handle the drawing of the Pixie.js canvas. And we're using an example from this gentleman, Pan Farrell. I'm sorry, Pan Rafael, excuse me, pardon me. And I'm in the process of just kind of copying these drawings. I just want to see some interaction work here. So I'm trying to see if I can do that by just doing a simple, the first thing I noticed, which was draw mode, enable, disable, which was cooked up to this controller. Yeah, like the draw controller. One of the first things I do. Draw mode. So let's look for depth. See, okay, so where's the import then? So where, this is what I don't get. Where is that defined? How is that working? Because I don't, okay, import. See, no imports. Okay. Yep. Okay. Lens for, here we go. Aha! Excellent, excellent, excellent. This is one of the things we're looking for. Interesting that they put classes that way. Okay, so whatever. How? Okay, so apparently his classes get somehow his system is. Let's see here. Right, if we look here, those all those all those classes. No, see how are those getting loaded up? It's not right in the app. It's got to be some. It's a depth viewer. Okay, viewer and drawer. Basically, that's what we're gonna do here. Okay, go back here. Mm, mm, we could define a class here. So how is he loading that? That's one of the things. Oh, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you, Oscar. How you doing? My name's Debot Sloth or Sean. I'm developing a puzzle game here, and this is my first stream, so welcome. I think you might be my first viewer. Um, right now, what I'm trying to do is kind of a Pixie. I've set up an application here, and I've got a loopback application client server set up here, and I'm trying to integrate Pixie.js into Angular, and I'm new to both, so it's kind of a slow cast today. But again, thank you for joining me. I would appreciate any tips if the audio's messed up or too loud, too soft. Just I would appreciate any input you could offer because this is I'm brand new to all this. So again, what I'm trying to do here is just add a simple way. I want to see some interactions. There's a couple different things we need to work with in order to make this integration work. And we have the notion of directives, services, and controllers, right? Hey, all good. Glad to hear. Again, are you a developer, by the way, or I'm just kind of curious because you know, who I'm kind of trying to figure out who it is that actually is interested in watching, you know, game development here. This is basically web development, but you know, I'm obviously looking to meet other developers and other artists and stuff. I have one collaborator right now as my artist. I'm kind of getting things set up so that he can start delivering to me. BO2? I'm not familiar with BO2, but yeah, I'm basically just doing a simple puzzle game. We have a theme which I'm not going to get too much into, but we're basically going to be experimenting with all the various standard puzzle mechanics you're used to, like, you know, Triple Town and Bejeweled and Hero Quest, etc. And we're going to pull it together with our theme. We will I'll have some discussions about exactly what our theme and our setting is here for this game, but just think simple mobile puzzle game. We're going to try to do something relatively self-contained. Right now, I just have one artist, and it's just me, and we're, you know, basically just trying to do this. We both commuted up to Boston, you know, working for big enterprise companies for a long time, and both hated it. So now we're doing our own thing. But please, I'm gonna start casting every day now. So again, feel free to join me. I don't know exactly what my schedule is, but over the next probably like 10 to 4 or something weekdays. Today is my first cast, so I'm just kind of getting set up. Um, Spread the hype. Thank you. Again, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for putting up with my pleb setup and noob op spec here. Okay, so again, what I have here is this render service. This is basically what's going to coordinate between the you know, it's the coordinator between controllers. I'm not exactly sure. I'm basically just following the lead of an existing code base I'm looking at. I'm not exactly sure we actually need this render, except that we may have multiple draw controllers for some reason. I assume that's the only reason he really did this, why there would be multiple draw controllers. I'm assuming he did it for a good reason so far. We'll find out if that's true or whether we really need it. And then we also have the directive, which this simple directive, this is just actually just gives us this. I will show you right here. It just gives us this. See that pixie rendered, yada, yada, yada. Makes it simple. So just a little reduces a little boilerplate. And then this is our actual draw controller, which currently doesn't do anything. Again, this idea, that's actually, the render should get passed to that. And we can pull it all, we wire it all together right here. Whether any of this works or not, I have no idea. I haven't built it a bit. We're going to take a look. Right. So render, yeah. Go back to here. I think this is good. Yes, this is good. What I guess I don't quite get. Why is render? Oh yeah, I get it now. Could use this, I assume. Okay, and now that new depthy drawer. Okay, so what we're gonna do for now, oops, is just do this. I'm gonna make that class, but I want to figure out exactly the right way to load it. If Angular, all right, we'll just do this. That doesn't need, we're not gonna need to clean that up yet. We'll leave that window resize. Or why not? Right? Not sure what that does yet. All right, let's build. Oops. Okay. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. No errors. Okay. I don't think we're hitting anything with that. I don't think that there's like any. Yeah. I mean, we've got the canvas there. Very good. So that part is working. Yeah, we're going to need to do a little more research to figure out exactly how that works. All right. Draw controller. Again, what I still don't quite get, what I'm trying to figure out here is how that draw controller gets wired in. Because if you look in the way he configured it, the state here that we handle, like this is where I put the controller. He doesn't actually have a controller. He doesn't actually have a controller here, and I assume that's because that hollow true. I don't know. We got to figure out what that means. I'm new to Angular. You get to figure this, see me, read documentation for the most part here at first a few days. Let me take a look. Let's take a look at our changes so far. Okay. We added a new state for draw. We added new event handlers for entering and exit that state, which should simply flip a bit in, and unless it must map by API. I don't get how that happens. His code doesn't quite make sense to me yet because of what I know about. So again, this is just that directive, and this is just flipping the bits on draw mode. what I would like to do is basically see that I can see this flipped, and at least there's some integration going on, right? Good start. Okay. How do we do this then? Let's look through his whole thing. You know what? Let's do this. We're going to go, I want to go to his GitHub and try this. How do I search for it? Anyways, this repository, right? I think he did it. He called it this one. Draw control, right? CTRL. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, that makes sense to me. So do you understand? Anyone watching? Hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you, Clusen. Mobile puzzler game? Well, I just, yeah, like Candy Crush, exactly. Something like that. Although, you know, think Candy Crush, think, like Triple Town, think like, Puzzle Heroes, or, wait a minute, what is it? Hero Quest, or what is it? Puzzle Quest? That's the one I'm thinking of, Puzzle Quest. We're actually, right now, I'm kind of just setting up some infrastructure and stuff, but we're gonna actually do some design sessions where we're actually just doing game design, and we're going to make an inventory of all of the puzzle mechanics we can think of, right? And we're going to talk about how they relate to each other and where they, you know, what all these mechanics, what's the point of these mechanics, and then we're gonna, once we have our inventory, we're gonna take our theme and we're going to kind of start mix and matching them together to get a game that is hopefully really fun here. And I have an artist who's working on the art on the background while I set up the code and set up the game, you know, infrastructure here for this demo. And if it all works well, we'll hopefully throw out a Kickstarter and see if we can't get this puppy shipped somehow. So yeah, if you're still here, Clusen, that's the kind of the plan. And part of this is for me to, first of all, meet more people, introduce myself to other people who are interested in game development. B, I'm a better developer than I am gamer. So if I was going to stream, I think this is probably where to start. My machine can only handle dev casting. I can't really run games and cast. And likewise, if I get into I want to get into a schedule of developing, and I want to be accountable. So if people get used to seeing me on a given day, and I know they're used to seeing me, it'll help me keep accountable and keep me busy. Please bear with me as I figure this stuff out. You know, I'm not. This is my very first cast today. You guys are my very first viewer. Anyone who showed up today, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you just even stopping by and checking it out. Shout out questions, comments, criticisms. You know, anytime you like. My name's Sean, or Debat Sloth. I'm kind of a name fag. I don't really care if you know who I am. I'm trying to get a job, so you know it doesn't really make sense to obscure myself, right? So here we see exactly how we finally connect all this stuff up together. Ultimately, there's this section in the draw each node. Let's take a look at his draw. We'll go right here. What other views does he have? Draw instructions, draw button, draw, yeah. Oh, wow, interesting. So this is, okay, so that's how he controls what's drawn on the screen, it looks like. And there's the main. Let's see how draw, let's see if there's a draw in here, right? Doesn't look like it. Not what I was looking for. I was looking for a tag in there. So, Clusen, are you a developer or anything, or just kind of interested in the you know, behind the scenes kind of thing? I found myself rather to be surprised that people would actually sit around watching someone write code, but apparently there are people out there, and that's really cool. So, you know, I'm obviously looking to meet people, and again, I really appreciate you stopping by today. This is my first cast. I didn't even expect anyone to show up, so thank you. And again, thanks for the feedback. And if I tune out for a bit here at times, it's because I'm in focus mode for a moment. You know, I'm still getting the hang of narrating while I code. And, it's kind of a very different experience for me. But so far, so good. It's actually one good thing. That's why my family and friends were encouraging me to do this. I'm really good at talking. I can talk forever, nonstop. So, and the other thing is, it's rather, oh, excuse me, that was a little distortion. This is going to be great documentation. You know what I mean? When I'm looking back, I'm going to have all this stuff goes to YouTube, and then I can go back over time and have great documentation as to what I was thinking and why I was doing. Um, Again, thanks again. Hopefully, we will cast some games too. Actually, I mean, after I get, I'm gonna, hopefully as I get a little better set up and a little less pleb hardware here, we can start casting some games in the evening. Um, you know, I'd really love to play some Rocket League soon. I love that game. I love watching it. Um, okay. Draw mode, brush mode. Brush is open. I'm not gonna really probably have brushes. I can just do this. I can just do something like that, right? What's interesting is how does this, okay, so this draw HTML, right? This is where they define the controller for draw controller. And again, bear with me, I'm looking at someone else. This guy, this gentleman, Pan Rafal, I was looking for Pixie and Angular JS integrations, found this forum, saw this gentleman explained his, what he had, the way he did it. So I'm going through his code and kind of figuring out, picking it out, reverse engineering exactly what he did to integrate this stuff. Again, I'm learning Angular JS uh, 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 and Pixie JS and Loopback all in real time. I've never used any of this stuff. I'm figuring it out as I go along. I've just been a developer for a very long time, very long time. So I can just kind of pick it up as I go along. I want to know what that hollow means, though. That I don't know. That probably has something significant. So I assume that means that that's what allows it to be. It defers to getting picked up from the tag definition rather than explicitly in JavaScript. Hey, no problem, man. I only speak English, but again, don't worry about it. You seem to be speaking perfectly clear English to me. Again, and you know what? I should probably slow down. Listen, um, I have a tendency to speak very rapidly, and people remind me of this all the time. I need to enunciate and slow my speech. Um, and again, appreciate you bearing with me while I figure this out. I also have like a pretty strong lisp, in my understanding, so I need to probably start practicing. I know that, for example, Co-Carnage has pointed out that there's YouTube videos you can go and apparently teach yourself to not have a lisp. It's surprising to me, but I guess I'm gonna have to get on that. But so cool, yeah. My collaborator, CSS boy, is actually I think that's his Twitch ID. He's that's my sister's boyfriend, and he's the artist and web developer, and he's kind of he's my collaborator. Um, Again, if I'm speaking too fast or you miss something I'm saying, don't hesitate to interrupt me here because I'm mostly just figuring out. I'm not trying to be too productive today. I already closed out one GitHub issue, so we're already ahead of the schedule. If we just cast and continue, we're in good shape. Now my problem is figuring out how the controller, which we now know gets defined or wired up in the tag. How does that relate to the canvas? What's interesting is where are we here? Sorry, I'm looking at my spread. So the only real view I have here, this is really simple. I'm just doing this, like, this was literally just, an H1 here at first. Now I've used the directive to put the canvas here, but the controller that handles what comes from that canvas, like the controller, okay, the draw controller has no, as far as I know, I don't understand how it communicates with the, excuse me here, I'm losing my train of thought. Okay, no, that's right, Pixie render, um, here we go, that's right. It's the canvas and the section, so that's okay, this is what I'm trying to understand. It seems like the section is, what is a section? What is an Angular section? That's what we have to understand. Never works. So this view, draw. We got to figure out how that draw gets wired up. Let's look for that. Start there. Let's search, see what we get. Now that's in the CSS. Icon draw, 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 draw. I see. Section. See, this state, that's the other thing I got to figure out is, again, how this URL routing. I'm relatively new to this. Here we go. State, HTML, HTML. That's not what we're looking for. Let's do this draw again. Where is everywhere in draw? Just draw itself. This will come back with a bunch of crap, but that's okay. So this view, original, yeah. So you see, it's got to have, again, it's got to have something to do with the how is that view wired up? Let me think about this. So the app has to have, okay, that's got to be it. It's the state, right? Is there just an implicit association between the state and the HTML file, the view? Because the way I do it in mine, the way I'm currently doing it with the demo, if you see here, I'm actually explicitly saying take this template and use this controller, right? He's not doing that because he's got the other tag defined controller, which I've seen in the Angular documentation and believe I understand. The default URL, this was just so the default URL goes to demo.html. How do we hit this draw state? Anyone got any idea? Any Angular experts online right now watching? How do we do that? We're good. Oh, render. That should be good. And we should have this service. You know what we want to do? Let's try this. This is the first thing we can do. Is there any way for, let's just try this. If we haven't even hitting anything in here. I don't even know if we're actually doing anything in here. So let's. Oh, anyway, do that. Let's try that for now, just to see if anything gets hit, right? I don't know if that gets. Oh, shoot. No. Nope. So it's not getting hit. You see that? And that's okay. Because again, we don't have any section that actually even initializes it. So let's see, where else are we maybe getting? We know we got getting here. See, what I really want to test is to see if that service gets rendered. So we got to figure out how to test that draw. How do we test that draw controller? Always fun trying to figure out someone else's code, right? Especially when you're working in a system you've never used. I've never used any of these frameworks really before, but not a problem. We'll figure it out. Trust me. You gotta trust me. Excellent. There's a depth viewer. I'll probably create a viewer class and a drawer class myself. Draw mode. See why? That's interesting that it's the drawer and a draw mode. That I don't. I'm not totally sold on all his conventions, but he got a fairly clear example. All right, so the controller's handling all the. Okay, I get it. The controller handles the app, the Angular side of things. So it doesn't really have anything to do with Pixie directly. This is intercepting your clicks and your stuff at the application level and then pushing it down to Pixie, right? Because I can't think of anything. Yeah, that makes sense because we're not going to need to go the other way. Okay. Now the draw view, Again, this is what I still don't quite understand is that section. Templates. Anyone know where I want to go? Yeah, English expressions. Um, okay, gotcha. I got you. Scope inheritance. Yeah, we're getting a little. So we can put an NG controller on just about anything. Can we? We can't. Why can't? Here's the question I have. So if we can put the NG controller basically on any tag, right? Why is he putting it on a separate section? Why isn't it on the canvas itself? I wonder. And that probably is something specific to his app. I mean, I don't think there's any good reason not to, as far as I can tell. Right? We can put a we can associate a controller with any div, I believe. Any tag. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have a factory method for my service, right? I am going to have to. That's part of the problem. I haven't registered. Have I? Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I did. Yes, I did, right? Let's see. Right in the service itself. Wait a minute. Oh. So I gotta, that's it. I see. Okay, great. So I gotta put a factory method here. So wait, let's add comment here. Factory method, or factory, not, function. Or in singleton render object, right? That's the principle anyways. We still got anyone here in chat, by the way? Welcome if you're here. Again, I don't know if there's anyone lurking, but generally a couple people have come in and said hi. If you're lurking, welcome. My name's Sean. I'm developing a mobile game. And welcome to ask whatever questions you have. I'm actually really surprised anyone managed to show up at all on my first cast. I've been casting for about 2 hours now, and I've had 2 visitors. 2 visitors. I'm so psyched. That was way more than I thought I would get. So, a rousing success. I have, relatively small expectations. Now, let's figure out where did they put that factory method? That like independent? The module factory API. I got that part. Okay, I got it. This is, we want to do, is there anything in that factory? What's the, ah, ah, hate it when that happens. For some reason, I can't alt tab over to my Chrome. It's driving me absolutely nuts. Oh, wait a minute. Is that supposed to be in the... It's just supposed to be in the module, isn't it? Yeah. Wait a minute. All right, what do I need? JavaScript, how do I... Wait. This be okay? Work? Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, this is the provider. Which scope are we in? Angular app. Does the, okay, we could probably chain, I don't know, can we chain methods here? I don't know if this is right. We got to figure out how to, so let me just make sure. Let's look back at the documentation. It makes sense that we would need a factory module, but no, I got to do it that way, huh? I don't get, oh, okay. I think that should be okay. What do you guys think? Okay, let's look for factory. Okay, yeah, before we do anything else, let's just check his factory. Where does he do his factory in, wait a minute, render? Yeah, so that would be his would be not here anymore. Looking for, oh, it's the service, right? I got it. No factory. You got it. What? How is he not using a factory? All right. You know what? This guy's stuff, I'm no longer, I'm not sure that this guy's stuff is really. Anyone there? Am I boring you to death yet? Anyone bored to tears? Yeah, maybe we don't even need to worry about any of that, to be honest. Initially, we could probably just jury rig it with Pixie, right? You know what? Yeah, why are we even? Let's just do all this and pick through it. You with me, chat? This integration, we'll figure out this integration after we know how to do this better. I mean, I actually think we're going to need all this stuff. Go back here. When we load up, when we load this demo, we have Pixie available, right? When we load this up, are we? Where are you? Here. Actually, that canvas, this is useful. I'll hold on to that. I'm gonna keep this stuff. I'm not gonna get rid of it. That's what I think. That is what I think. What time we got? Oh, excuse me. Not a coffee. Okay, you know what? Actually, I think I'm gonna take a break for a couple. I think I'm gonna take a break for about a half hour here and meditate on the way to go forward here for a second. And I will return at 6 o'clock, and we're gonna do. I'm gonna put that on the front page. So I'll be back at 6 o'clock to continue this, and we're gonna go ahead and get Pixie work and forget about integration. We're gonna leave the integration stubs that we have, um, but ignore them for the moment and just work directly with Pixie just to get some crap going, and we'll see if we can get some interaction going there. We don't really need to use Angular at all, I guess, I suppose, right? But beyond just presenting the canvas and getting the Pixie library in there, which it already is, so we can start just hacking directly. You know what I mean? We can load up one script, put a little thing in there, and just start hacking. And I think that's what we're going to do. But for now, I'm going to take a break, and I really appreciate, again, Clusin and Oscar0811, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Feel free to talk, ping me anytime. And I'm going to be back at 6 o'clock. And again, if you're here now, thank you. Otherwise, I will see you shortly. Thank you. And